why both your board and staff should collaborate on the strategic planning process. We get calls all the time from nonprofits that say, you know what, our staff created this plan, the board approved it, but now we don't, we're not implementing it very well. It's not going very well. Or we hear from the board, we created this plan, we gave the staff clear marching orders, and they're just simply not doing it. And the first thing we ask is, did you collaborate on this plan, or did it happen independently in a board meeting or a staff meeting? What was the process? Usually when we see problems in implementing a strategic plan, it means the key decision makers were not actively engaged in the brainstorming, in the planning, and the consensus building process. It's one thing to present ideas. It's another thing to agree on those and say this is the best path forward, essentially consensus building. Here at Funding for Good, we highly recommend, and we actually require in our strategic planning processes, that key members of the board and staff actively engage in the strategic planning process. If the staff creates a plan independently, what tends to happen, it is very programmatic in nature. It tends to be very goal-oriented, and it gives the opportunity for the board to rubber stamp it and then step back. The board doesn't assume ownership in many situations because they say the staff came up with this, they must feel confident that they can implement it. So it essentially removes the ownership process from the board, and we don't want to do that. And if the board creates the plan, then you're going to typically see a lot of resistance from the staff because the staff is the one rolling up their sleeves and kind of working in the trenches every day, and they say, how could the board think this is reasonable? They don't understand what we're actually dealing with. They want us to double program numbers, but they don't understand fire codes. We can't do this, or our capacity is limited in this area. So if the board drafts a plan independently of the staff, you risk having a plan that's unrealistic and cannot accurately be implemented as it was created. In order to avoid this, we want to make sure that the board is there to say we have a vision and we understand how we plug into this as governing members of the organization, and the staff can speak to here's what happens on the ground and here's what we propose as far as measurable goals and impact over the coming years. You can also engage other members of your organization, but at bare minimum, we want to make sure your board and staff are fully engaged in this process.